My name is Desi Bartlett, and today we're going to be talking about natural beauty and youthful energy over 40. I see so many of your beautiful faces. Thank you for the women who are joining us today who are learning about your own bodies and the way that we can feel great from the inside out through all the different stages of our lives. And also to the gentlemen who are joining us. We need you. We need the support of our brothers, our husbands, our uncles, our best friends. So again, my name is Desi Bartlett, and I would love for you to raise your hand at any point to put any questions in the chat that might come up. But let's go ahead and jump into the information. So I love this slide, and I'd love to go ahead and direct your attention over to the right side of the screen. And here you can see Rue McClanahan from the Golden Girls in 1985. This is what 50 years old was reflected as. And now look at where we are. In 2020, that's J-Lo at the Super Bowl, of course. And I think that where we are in history is really at a point where we are redefining what healthy, vibrant, radiant health and strength looks like. So my question, and it's rhetorical, is who looks like they're having more fun? To me, I think it's J-Lo. Her energy is just off the charts. And that's how I think that every woman deserves to feel so strong and so great. Because if we talk about this time in your life as middle age, 40, 50 years old, that means that you still have another 40 to 50 years ahead of you. So how can we make this as fun, as strong, as radiant and vibrant as possible? So I'm not the kind of presenter that's just going to read a bullet point list to you, but you can kind of look over to the left and see what we're going to learn today. We're definitely going to talk about the tools for empowerment. That's my whole entire message. We have different bodies throughout our lifetime, right? We've got the baby body, the toddler body, the teenage body, etc. How do we empower women with the tools to understand what's happening in a perimenopausal body and a menopausal body? So let me take a moment just to find that. Menopause, according to Mayo Clinic, simply refers to the cessation of the menses for 12 months or more. So once the period is gone for over a year, that's menopause. But we have this whole time of transition before menopause. That is perimenopause. And it can last anywhere from 5 to 10 years. On average, it's about 8. So what's happening during that time is our hormones are changing. And so we'll learn about the role of the hormones, a little bit about estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, etc. HRT is something that comes up in this conversation, hormonal replacement therapy. Some women can tolerate it and they do great on it. They thrive. They feel fantastic. Others, not so much. And sometimes the side effects can be worse than what they were experiencing from menopause. So we'll talk about some natural interventions, things that you can do either in place of or in concert with HRT. And again, how to feel great from the inside out. Because we want these women, myself included, I'm in this age group, I'm 51, to feel like, hey, we're still able to contribute with our whole hearts, our whole mind, body, spirit, etc. I want to be here for you as a resource, someone that you can come to with questions about like, hey, my body is changing. What do I do? That's why I'm here. So just a little bit about me. My name is Desi Bartlett, and I have my undergraduate degree from University of Illinois at Chicago in kinesiology, my master's in corporate fitness, and after 25 years outside of school, I gave myself the gift of going back to school to pursue my doctoral studies at Concordia St. Paul in kinesiology. That was my 50th birthday gift to myself because, again, I want to feel like I'm continuing to learn and to grow, as all women should have this opportunity throughout our lives. Additionally, I'll share with you that I'm on E-RYT. E-RYT is a division of Nordic Track, and I'm also on Beachbody. I teach pre- and postnatal yoga and meditation and fitness. So if I look a little familiar from one of those platforms, that's why. I have certifications in many different formats: yoga, fitness, Pilates, group fitness, and now I certify many other instructors around the globe how to teach these formats so that we can find our strength, flexibility, and power as women. I also created the first round yoga mat with Manduka Yoga, and I'm an internationally published author. You'll see my books over on the side: Your Strong, Sexy Pregnancy, a yoga and fitness guide. If you have any women in your life who are pregnant or perhaps on a fertility journey, that's the book of choice. Total Body Beautiful, I wrote during the pandemic with two beautiful women who I partner with all the time. Andrea Orbeck, you'll see her over on the side. She's the tall blonde trainer. And Nicole Stewart, she's a Pilates expert. She's the one with the long dark hair. Now, just going back to J-Lo for a moment, what I hear really often when we see celebrities is, oh, well, I could look and feel like her if I had her team, if I had her trainer, her Pilates instructor. That's us. We work with celebrities all of the time. We've shared several clients. You can see Kate Hudson wrote the foreword to our book, Julia Roberts, Emma Roberts, Ashley Tisdale, the list goes on and on. And the reason that we wrote this book is because we feel that every woman should have this information. Every woman deserves to be the star of her own life, not just the celebrities. So with that, I'd love to jump in a little bit deeper into our topic, which again is women's health over 40. Now, I think that the thing that made me the most frustrated during the research for this particular book, how many women over the age of 40 feel invisible. They walk down the street and they don't feel like they get that same response of even people saying hello, and they start to almost close in on themselves. So I wanted to bring that to light so that we can start to find ways to allow women to feel great again, to feel like people value them and see them. And really recently I was watching an episode of 60 Minutes, and Paulina Poroskova was on there. She was one of the supermodels during the 80s. For those of you who are around my age, you might remember her. And she's one of the few models, actresses, celebrities that I've seen that's really embracing, not doing a lot of fillers or Botox or even dyeing her hair. She's embracing her age and she's sharing that journey with others. And I bring this up because she has, I think, like 1 million followers now, simply because she's herself. She's authentic and she's talking about her experience of feeling invisible. Now, when does this happen? Usually this starts around the age of 35. We start to see some of those perimenopausal symptoms. Although some women, you won't see it till 40 or 45. I'll share with you, I had my second baby at the age of 42. So even though I had, a glimpse of perimenopause before that, it didn't really start to affect me in terms of symptoms or even noticing a lot of changes in my own personal body until several years later. I bring that up just because when we look at ages and timelines, these are generalizations. So if you're a little younger and you're like, hey, wait, I'm already experiencing that, or perhaps a little bit older, just know that it's totally normal. And again, these are just averages. Same with the perimenopausal transition. On average, this can last 5 to 10 years. And you'll hear 5 years all the time, but 8 years is totally normal. Now, what can we do? We can be our own health advocates. And what I mean by this is if you have a general practitioner or perhaps an OBGYN that you really like, start to have the conversation, start to advocate for yourself and say, hey, I'm having hot flashes. I'm having sleep interruptions. All of a sudden, my waist is thicker. What can I do? Additionally, I really suggest that you get a full blood panel. We want to see what's happening with your hormones. Is the estrogen declining? Is the progesterone declining? Now, again, these are things that are normal, but we want to see the rate. Additionally, what's going on with like your micronutrients? That's something that a lot of doctors don't necessarily have the time to talk to us about. This is not a slam on doctors in any way, shape, or form. We appreciate and adore all that they do for us. But again, they don't always have the time to talk to us about things like iron, calcium, magnesium. So it's up to us to investigate our own bodies. I think it was Marie Forleo talking about not just being a detective of your own body, but being, I think she called it a me-tective. A little cheesy, but cute. It's the idea of really starting to investigate processes within your own body so that you understand, how can I level this? How can I find a level of each of these different things that naturally occur in my body so that I feel good, so that I don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going a little crazy, or my moods are swinging so much that I don't even recognize myself. And so this is where we start the conversation about hormones. Now, we're not going to get too deep into the weeds today with hormones, mostly for the sake of time, but I will share with you that we do get really deep into it in Total Body Beautiful. For those of you who are interested in purchasing either of the books, they're both published through Human Kinetics, which also makes a lot of the books for CSP, so you might recognize that name. And you have a 30% discount code for both. It's A like Apple, 922. And that code is good for about a week. So when I start to go through the hormones, if you're like, hey, I really want to learn more, and I don't know if I can remember all this right this second, please go ahead and check out the book. It's worth it, and it's really a gift to yourself to feel great. So let's look at estrogen. And let me just mention that estrogen is sort of like an umbrella term, right? There's different kinds. There's estradiol, there's estrone. There's different things that we need to know about. But just for the sake of time, estrogen is what goes down as we age. So what does estrogen do in our bodies? It affects the female sex characteristics. My voice is a little higher than my husband's. I don't have a lot of facial hair. That's when you kind of see some of what estrogen does. But we also need to know what it does inside of our bodies. It protects our bone health and the bone density. So when estrogen goes down, that's when we have to start to talk about things like calcium, one of the micronutrients, so that we keep your bones strong and healthy. Things like strength training can absolutely help to support this process. So it all works in concert. It isn't just, where's my estrogen? How can I help myself to make sure that I have the estrogen levels that I need, to make sure that it's working in concert with the micronutrients? And then also, just being aware of how you feel. Are you feeling like you're really energetic and vital, or are you feeling kind of tired? All right, before we jump to progesterone, I'm just seeing a little message in the chat. So that is our discount code. Progesterone prepares the body for pregnancy. It comes from the terms progestation. It's made in the ovaries, and it thickens the lining of the uterus for pregnancy. So yes, of course, this is going to go down during menopause because the body isn't working in the same way, right? Remember in the very beginning, when I was talking about how we almost have different bodies through the course of our life. A pregnant body is very different from a perimenopausal and a menopausal body. So progesterone starts to decline as well. Okay, let's move to testosterone. One of the side effects of perimenopause is dry mouth. Who knew? Okay, testosterone helps with the growth and repair of a woman's reproductive tissues. It also helps with bone mass, sex drive, and that goes down during menopause as well. So sometimes we'll hear that her libido has started to go down. Again, bone density. It's really common to hear about hair loss, waist thickening, vasomotor symptoms like hot flushes, also called hot flashes, mood swings. The list goes on and on. I recently also heard about skin conditions. You can start to develop eczema during perimenopause and menopause. So when all of these little things are happening and you're like, wait, what's going on in my body? I just want to feel good. This is your time. Go see the doctor. Get that blood test. Look at the levels of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. Also look at the other hormones that you have in your body. Look at things like thyroxine. This is T3, T4, all of the different ways that we can help to support thyroid function. If your hair is thinning, if your nails are thinning, if you're getting cold very easily, that's sort of a telltale sign of the thyroid not functioning optimally. The thyroxine levels dropping a little too far below where they should be. So these are all really easy tests that aren't necessarily given right away. And unfortunately, what I also see sometimes is we will kind of get like a pat on the head, like, oh, it's just the change. This is normal. No, it's not. It's something that is common, but common doesn't always equal normal. And there are things that we can do to help feel much, much better. All right, let's move on to our next slide. And this is sort of the list of the major symptoms and how they work in a chemical cascade. So the first thing that can happen is we have this hot flash or hot flush, and this is a vasomotor symptom. All of a sudden we're like sweating and we're like, oh my gosh, and peeling off clothes and our face is sweating, and it can be really, really embarrassing, and it can interfere with our work life. Imagine if you're a female executive and you're giving a presentation, and then all of a sudden there's a tremendous amount of sweat and perspiration. It can be really embarrassing. So this is also something that we need to talk about in the future in terms of a woman's work life. How can we make some exceptions or talk about how to allow her to feel really, really comfortable in an office setting, whether that office is an actual office like I'm in right now, or perhaps she's out in the field. Maybe she's a female paramedic and all of a sudden, the mask is getting all foggy. We need to make sure that we give women the tools that they need. So vasomotor symptom, the hot flash, is the first thing that can happen that sets off this cascade. Imagine you're asleep, sleeping like a baby. All of a sudden, 2 a.m., you start sweating and you're just so hot and it feels like your body's on fire. It feels like you stepped into a stove. That can happen. And now you're awake, probably can't go back to sleep, worried about when the next sleep disturbance is going to occur. So you start counting. Do you guys ever do that where you start counting? Okay, I slept for 3 hours. I'll be up for an hour. I can get 2 more hours. Then I can go to work. It becomes a whole thing, right? So let's say that she finally gets back to sleep now. When she wakes up in the morning, maybe it's a few minutes later than normal, and maybe she wants a little lift. Maybe that's with sugar. Maybe it's with caffeine. Maybe she starts to make some choices in food that she wouldn't normally make because she's trying to get a little bit more energy. Doesn't sound bad, right? Until what happens like 6 months later. Now, all of a sudden, maybe she can't fit into her clothes comfortably. Maybe she's put on 5 or 6 pounds and her waist is thickening, which can also happen with a decline in estrogen. How is she going to feel? Not so great. So now that she's feeling a little down, my waist is thicker, I can't sleep, I'm hot, maybe my hair is falling out. How does that affect her relationships? When we feel good, and this isn't just about the external, this isn't about, like J-Lo's hair extensions or whatever. This is about how she feels inside. When we feel good inside, when we feel like contributing members of society with healthy bodies, healthy hearts, showing up with all of our gifts, then we show up in relationship with others in a way that we want to give and share and receive. But imagine if we're feeling like kind of chubby, kind of moody, really sweaty, it's going to be hard to interact with others. And that feeling of being invisible now makes a lot of sense. There's a drop in the self-esteem. So these are just things to be aware of. But it's not all bad news. And that's where I love to teach the different ways that we can intervene to allow her to feel great. Now, hormonal replacement therapy, again, it can help with the estrogen levels, and it can help a lot of women to kind of combat some of these symptoms. But some women feel worse after they take HRT. Others in this third category can have some HRT. They can tolerate a little bit of it, and then they can use a natural intervention in concert with it. So whatever category this woman that we're talking about is in, someone who takes HRT, someone who takes a little bit of HRT and combines with a natural intervention, or someone who goes full natural intervention, just know, hey, there are a lot of things that we can do to help her feel great, whether the her is your mom, your sister, your wife, or you. So the first thing that I always offer are fitness and yoga routines, because that's what I do. That's what I've been doing my entire adult life. And I never knew, even as a fitness professional for all of these years, I never knew that these things could necessarily help with not just the waist thickening. Of course, we're going to be a little leaner when we're stronger, when we're strength training, etc. But I didn't know it could help with mood fluctuation and anxiety and sleep disturbances. And the research really shows that it does, whether it is strength training to help promote bone density, yoga to find that deep sense of center. You can tell I teach yoga, right? Go right into the yoga voice. Whatever it is within these different formats that speaks to her, that can help her to feel better. And when she feels better, again, she presents as a different person with a little bit more self-esteem, feeling centered, feeling whole. So when you see, especially in the book, if you have Total Body Beautiful, or if you purchase it, when you see the different movements that we offer, something as simple as a squat, it isn't just to lift your rear end. It isn't just about like looking cute in your skinny jeans. This is about making sure that she's strong from the inside out. Speaking of which, Pilates is another way to do this. Pilates is so fantastic for deep core strength. For those of you who are familiar with a gentleman named Paul Chek of the Chek Institute in San Diego, I love his model for for teaching what he calls the inner unit. Now, the inner unit refers to the diaphragm at the top, the pelvic floor at the bottom, the transverse abdominis, those are the muscles behind the six-pack muscles, excuse me, in front in your belly, and then the multifidi in the lower back. It all works together. Every time we breathe, every time we contract the abdominal muscles, it acts like a corset and it gives you power for posture. Now, posture is directly related to the age that we feel. You saw, J-Lo in the flagpole position hanging from the pole at the Super Bowl. How your spine feels dictates, I'm going to say this one more time because it bears repeating, it dictates the age that you feel. If any of you have ever had back pain, especially lower back pain, and the hand is on the lower back, perhaps it happened to you, it certainly happened to me during my first pregnancy, you kind of feel like really, really old, right? And it isn't that old is bad. Age comes with so many gifts, including wisdom. It's that we don't want the body, the mechanical functions of the body to feel old. We want it to feel strong, well lubricated, and like the machine of the body is functioning perfectly. And then finally, we have nutrition. Now, nutrition makes a great big difference in how you feel. And I know you all know this because I know that if you took the time to listen to this course, you're someone who probably knows a lot about health already. In this particular population, we want to make sure that this woman is getting enough protein. And again, I'm going to take you back to the micronutrients. Is she getting enough calcium for her bone density? Is she getting enough iron? Iron is really, really going to affect her energy levels. If she becomes anemic, then on top of all of the other symptoms, there's going to be lethargy. So we want to make sure that her nutrition is on point. Now, there's a lot of varied opinions on nutrition right now. I'll just mention really, really quickly what I see with my personal clients is they do better when they have approximately, and again, it's not a hard and fast rule, approximately 1 gram of protein per body weight pound. That sounded a little confusing. I weigh about 120 pounds. I should have 120 grams of protein. That's it. Super easy. When I have too little, then I feel more hungry. So that's just a real simple way of looking at it. But again, if you want to get deeper into it, check out the book. And I would be remiss if I didn't also mention skin. And this is something that I need to thank my friend Misty for bringing up. Our skin is also affected during perimenopausal and menopausal years. So nutrition is absolutely going to support our collagen. If we're feeling really droopy, we need to look at what we're eating. And we also need to go to the doctor to have our hormonal levels checked. So now is the time. If you have questions, I would love to entertain your questions. But again, I really want to express to you that my intention for teaching this is to allow women to feel great from the inside out. I think that we all have the right to have this information. And when we share it with our family, with our best friends, with all of the women in our lives, it's really a gift. It's the gift of knowing how to empower yourself to feel happy, healthy, and whole. All right, I'm going to jump into the chat. And I don't see any questions off the top. So again, I just want to take the opportunity to thank each of you for joining me today, for joining us here. Concordia St. Paul is the university that I'm attending to get that doctor title in front of my name. Again, it's been 25 years since I've been out of school, and I'm so excited and so privileged to be back in the university setting as someone who's teaching, someone who's learning, and someone who gets the privilege of interacting with all of you.
There's questions in the chat for you.
I see. Thank you so much. Please chat the Pilates resource that you recommend. I'm a CSP alum. All right. So the Pilates resource that I recommend is within Total Body Beautiful. The book has 3 different formats of movement. I teach yoga. My friend Nicole, she's the one with the jet black hair on the cover. She teaches Pilates. She was trained by Mari Windsor. She's the one who's worked with Kate Hudson for like 20 years since the days of Almost Famous. She is a wealth of knowledge. She's absolutely brilliant. So I would check that out because she goes into all of the different exercises that you can do, the different series, but also we take the time to talk about mental health and emotional health so that the strength is not just the physical, it's how you feel while you're cultivating that physical strength. I'm just scrolling here to see if there's any more questions. Hi, April. Nice to see your face. For those of you who are sharing your screen or sharing your bio photo, Cherie, Brenda, thank you so much. It's nice to see everyone's beautiful smiles. It's also nice to see someone else who's passionate about this topic. I see Cherie, the menopause coach, in here. When we have many different professionals working across many different formats, I think that it lifts everyone. And when we can share this information with each other, then we lift each other up. And again, that's really the goal. All right. Any other questions?
And there's a question in the chat. You do so great as a mom, bringing your kids into your practice. Can you share how you do that and the impact it has on your boys?
Oh, thank you so much. So I have two sons. I have a 9-year-old and a 14-year-old. And during the pandemic, we created a YouTube channel, which is just my name. It's Desi Bartlett. And what I did was I created an indoor recess. I taught them basically PE in the basement. And because I know that when we feel like we can't move or like we don't have personal freedom of our bodies, it can feel really constraining. And I think we all experienced that during COVID-19 when we were in our homes. I learned as a yoga teacher, when we can't go outside, let's go inside. And this is my home. My body is my home. So I share that with my children. I teach them all about fitness and yoga. And now that the world is much more open, we go to the beach all the time. And I think that children don't necessarily listen to your words, but they do listen to your actions, if that makes sense. I know that I always have eyeballs watching me. And if I can model health and wellness for them, not only are they going to learn about that for themselves, but then hopefully someday, if they get married and have families, they can do that for their families as well. All right. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Anything else?
Are you taking questions verbally?
Of course. Awesome. I can hear you. Please.
I couldn't chat fast enough to catch you. I didn't want to miss out. I'm apparently showing up as just a Zoom user. I didn't realize the login didn't work, but my name's Janelle Wooten and I'm the CSP alum. I have a 15-month-old baby. I'm 46 years old, and we're in the process of starting hormones for our IVF transfer of a second baby. Postpartum, I've heard that hot flashes are pretty common or pretty typical symptom that occurs for a percentage of the population. But I started getting those hot episodes that you mentioned, especially at 2 a.m. when I thought I was resting well. I think this is just really enlightening. It's literally when your body is not functioning in balance despite the best efforts of general medical care. I feel like living life without color or taste or flavor. It's pretty profound. Do you have any recommendations for kind of late season moms? Because I feel like the shifts are more extreme when your body is in this, generative phase of creating life and then supporting life outside our bodies as we breastfeed, if we have that opportunity. And it's kind of a big new topic based on some medical opportunities that we have that we didn't always have.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, congratulations on becoming a mom. That's very exciting. I think I mentioned my second baby at 42. And what I found was that, my niece who was 22 and having a baby at the same time was having a very different experience. And whereas she had tons of energy and she was like, go, 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 I perhaps didn't have quite as much, but I did have the resources to cultivate the energy within me. Now, some days that meant that all of that energy was going towards making a lung or a heart, and so I had to sit still. And I had to remember that simply by finding a sense of stillness, I was doing more than anyone else in the room was doing at that moment. But did I have some pretty profound changes in my body, mind, and heart? Yes, of course. So one thing that I think Mother Nature does in such a beautiful way when we have a baby, whether the baby's 5 pounds, 6 pounds, my second baby was 10 pounds, goodness gracious. Each week as the baby starts to put on a little bit of weight, whether it's a couple ounces or a full pound, each time that baby grows, your body gets stronger. There's an adaptation response. In the same way, like when you go to the gym, you lift heavier and heavier weights, you're getting stronger and stronger. As the baby grows, I really highly encourage you to wear the baby whenever possible, whether it's a Bjorn or a carrier or in your arms. Keep the baby on you. You establish a heart-to-heart connection from the physical touch. You breathe together, which helps to regulate their their nervous system. And again, it helps you to maintain a sense of strength. Now, as an older mom, and I know it's terrible, they call us geriatric moms after the age of 35. As an older mom, I was also really, really mindful about what I was eating. And I always wanted to understand, does this contribute to helping my boys be super, super strong, or the little baby boy that was inside of my belly? Is this helping him to have a building block in his bones, in his cells, that's going to allow him to grow and to thrive? Or is this just something that I kind of want? Like, do I just want this little bit of sugar, or is this going to like really, really serve? And of course, there's a balance. You know, every once in a while, you're going to want to have something that's just fun. And I think that's totally fine. I follow that 80-20 rule, but 80% of the time I was super, super mindful. Is this going to help his energy? Is this going to help my energy? So I hope that helps. Again, congratulations. I would wear the baby when you can, find stillness when your body is asking for it, and be super, super mindful about your nutrition so that it can support your energy levels. So if anyone else wants to jump in, and you just jump in with your voice, I would love to hear from you. Okay, I'll talk to myself again for a moment. Misty, John, Brenda, Tiffany, Sean, Julie, April, Mikey, beautiful name, all the different people who joined us in person today. Thank you so much for your time, whether this information is for yourself or for someone that you love. Thank you for taking the time to learn it so that you can hopefully then go on to share it, whether it's what you learned here today or through the gift of a book. I really, really appreciate you. And for those of you who are joining us later in the recording, remember, you can go back and watch this again. So if you missed something and you're like, hey, wait, what was she saying about estrogen? Check it out again.
Thanks for your contribution. This is Janelle again. I have some friends that are doing some pretty rad things in this space, and I think that your resources will be a great kind of connection or connector contributor. I'll circle up with you offline.
I would love that. Thank you so much. It's my honor, it's my pleasure, it's my joy to help women through all phases of life, whether it's pregnancy, new motherhood, perimenopausal, and menopausal years. We don't come with an owner's manual. I wish we did, but we're all individuals, and what works for one isn't going to necessarily work for another. So when we share our voices and share our resources, it's a gift to all of us. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Desi Bartlett, and again, the code for the books is A like Apple 922. If you want to connect with me, feel free to reach out. My name is my email, desibartlett@gmail.com. I do make myself available that way because this is really what I love to do, and it's my pleasure and my honor to be of service. Okay, thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Desi.
Thank you.